Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO and the de facto pope of AI, did the most honest thing a tech boss can do. He basically said, yeah, this might be a bubble. His version was classier. Smart people get overexcited about a kernel of truth. Which is billionaire for? Everyone lost their minds. But I'm being thoughtful about it. The market has nearly doubled in 5 years because 10 megacorps promised AI would fix taxes, laundry, and your love life. Altman's raised billions and is already floating trillions for data centers, which is a totally normal number if you're budgeting for world domination. So here's the real question. If this is a bubble, what did we actually buy? Most AI boom headlines aren't about how much value AI has created. They're about stock prices. That's like judging a restaurant by how expensive the silverware is. When a company's market cap jumps by hundreds of billions, that money doesn't materialize in a vault. It just means the last buyer paid more than the one before. If a single duct-taped banana sells for $6.2 million, it doesn't mean the planet's bananas got super expensive. It just means one extravagant person just made a luxury smoothie. So if we want to know whether this is a bubble, stop staring at charts and start counting real things. The money, the chips, the electricity, the people. Because if we burn through oceans of cash and all we get is a slightly faster email writer, that's not a revolution. That's spell check with a PR team. Alright, let's open the hood. This bubble isn't made of dreams. It's metal, power, and invoices. 4 companies, Amazon, Meta, Google, Microsoft, lit roughly $344 billion on AI build-out in 2024. That's over 1% of US GDP. Pretty wild when autocorrect still butchers our names. And that's just the part we can see. OpenAI's private, so no ledger. Yet they've hauled in about $40 billion from investors, lined up another $6 billion in a secondary, and Altman's already daydreaming in trillions for compute. Meanwhile, China's state giants reportedly threw in approximately $500 billion. And if you trace NVIDIA AMD shipments, the rest of the world isn't exactly sitting out. Add it up. And we've already cleared $1 trillion on hardware alone, before you even touch payroll or the power bill. Right now, data centers already chew through about 1 to 2% of the world's electricity, and the International Energy Agency says that load could double by 2030. If AI keeps scaling like this, which is a polite way of saying we're stress testing the grid, so your chatbot can write wedding vows in Elvish, Tolkien style. The US grid was poured when long-distance calls were a luxury. It's running on a thin safety cushion, which is a terrible match for rooms full of hungry GPUs. China's grid is newer and roomier, so they can plug in another wing of servers without dimming a province. And you're already feeling it. Power bills are doing their best tech stock impression, because this AI load doesn't just hit tech, it leaks into every aisle of the economy, which is a way of saying part of your grocery run might be subsidizing the pineapple on pizza debate between your neighbor and his chatbot. Meanwhile, the boring bottlenecks are the loudest. New capacity in key US hubs isn't landing until late 2027 or 2028. And in the hottest markets, data center vacancy is basically zero. The AI boom just drove itself into a wall. There's nowhere left to plug it in. Reality check. An MIT survey says 95% of companies using GenAI saw no ROI. Not disappointing. Zero. The demos sparkle. The minute they hit real workflows, they collapse like IKEA furniture in a hurricane. The tiny slice that is winning isn't AI-ifying everything. They pick one boring, expensive task, back office paperwork, claims pre-check, invoice triage, wire it end-to-end, and make it quietly faster. Everyone else is launching half-baked copilots for everything and asking why nothing works. Long tasks drift, edge cases explode, security waves a yellow flag. Even coding, the supposed killer app, often turns into bug confetti without a human in the loop. Some teams literally hired AI code janitors to mop up after the model, which is darkly funny, since the model was supposed to replace the janitor. Here's the other problem: stability. These platforms shift like Fortnite seasons. New patch, something breaks. When OpenAI rolled out GPT-5, support for custom GPTs buckled, and a bunch of third-party tools snapped overnight. Imagine waking up to your favorite programming language deleting half its standard library. That's the feeling. Builders are laying track in front of a moving train, and sometimes the train tips before it even leaves staging. So even before you talk ROI, half the time, the stack can't stay upright long enough to try. If the tech isn't ready, why keep lighting money on fire? Because no one wants to be the exec who missed the future. One rival slaps AI-powered on a slide. The stock twitches up, and suddenly, every board deck grows an AI strategy tab. Budgets get rewritten, teams get rebranded, and CEOs start saying AI like it's punctuation. It's less about results and more about not being the dinosaur at the robot party. We've seen this movie. In .com land, adding .com could double your valuation. That's the kernel of truth effect. The internet was real, but most .com companies weren't. Same energy now. AI is real, but a lot of today's AI companies are just promises with a demo. And while the hype machine was peaking, a lot of juniors decided AI stole their jobs. The boring truth? The post-pandemic hiring bubble popped. Companies remembered they'd accidentally hired 5 front-end teams during lockdown and tapped the brakes. Not robots, reversion to gravity. Returns are flat, but the spend keeps climbing. That isn't spreadsheets, it's psychology. Pride plus FOMO. In Silicon Valley, you don't need a working product so much as a compelling AI story. Say, we're building the future, and term sheets drop like snacks from a vending machine. That's how bubbles float. Not on cash flow, but on ego and narrative. Even the coastal VCs are calling this the biggest private tech bubble. And the irony writes itself, because these are the same folks who bankrolled a $400 million juicer. In private markets, there's no daily stock price to expose the wobble, so a company can raise billions, burn billions, and as long as the next round price is higher, everyone pretends it's working. That's how the bubble fattens out of sight. Meanwhile, the public AI trade is concentrated in a few mega caps: NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta. They've tied up so much capital in AI that even Goldman Sachs now expects their spending surge to cool soon. When the spending spree slows, the story propping up those stocks cools with it. But bubbles don't kill the real thing. Most of it pops. The useful bits stick. After .com, thousands vanished. But Google, Amazon, eBay crawled out of the rubble and built the boring plumbing the internet actually runs on. Expect the sequel here. The survivors won't be the keynote fireworks. They'll be the chip makers, interconnects, data centers, and power grids. The quiet killers that keep the lights on. So yes, this bubble will deflate. Not with a bang, more like the sound of air leaving a party balloon. Budgets normalize, hype cools, and the tech gets quieter and more useful. If this hit home, do the YouTube ritual. Like, share, subscribe, so the algorithm thinks I'm useful, and drop a comment. What actually are you using AI for in your world?